Hi guys, welcome to Digital Tech Join. In this video, we are going to learn about Razor pages, and the best way to learn about any new concept is by creating a project. So we are going to create a bookstore project which will enable you to do all the CRUD operation like create, read, update and delete, as well as enable you to sort the records based on the data type, as well as search the record, and also most important, do pagination. So we are going to cover this core concept. So before we get into the practical of this project, let us go through certain slides quickly and then hit the project and do the practical sections. So what are the prerequisites? So first thing is the prerequisites. So what is required for the project? We are going to use Visual Studio 2022, Framework 6.0, .NET Framework 6.0, and we are using Microsoft SQL Express Database 2012. The course contents, so at a very high level, we are going to discuss about the unified view of .NET Framework 6.0, the old picture of the entire framework. Then we are going to understand the Razor pages and the project structure. Then we are going to understand routing and entity framework migration, and obviously the bookstore where we are going to implement all the real world features that is required, which is essential for any Razor page projects. So what is .NET? So if you look at this diagram over here, this is taken from Microsoft website, and this is an unified view of the .NET development platform, where we have the runtime components, we have the compilers and the languages, different languages like C#, F, S and VB.NET and everything. And then we have the common base libraries and APIs on which on top of that we have the development tools required, and what all you can develop. You can create a development for cloud-based Azure solutions. We can create solutions for Blazor, then .NET MAUI. So MAUI is nothing but is an advanced and upgraded version of Xamarin. So basically Xamarin is a tool that provides the capability to develop mobile apps for various platforms using the C# code. For instance, you'll be able to create Android mobile apps, you'll be able to create iOS mobile app in a single IDE using a single programming language. So it sounds very interesting, and if we are able to complete most of the projects in our channel, we'll be also plan to release certain MAUI projects. And then we have the gaming solutions and IoT, and then AI and ML solutions as well. On the right hand side, we see the tools like GitHub, which is used for your source code managing, your Visual Studio Code, which is a code editor. It's a fantastic code editor. Then we have Visual Studio for Mac and Visual Studio for Windows. Now with .NET 6.0 and the previous version, it is open source solution, and .NET 6.0 comes with the capability of deploying a solution in any OS. It's whether it is Linux or with Windows, you'll be able to deploy it. And this is a very high level feature, like Blazor upgrade. Then there is an upgrade for C# 10, and then .NET 6.0 is claimed to be much faster. And then there is an upgrade in MAUI, upgraded version of Xamarin, as I mentioned, and there is some upgrade in ASP.NET Core 6.0 also. So this was a very high level understanding of .NET framework. Then we get into what is a Razor pages. So basically, if you have worked with MVC pattern, and we do have lots of videos covering on MVC projects in our YouTube channel. So if you want to understand more about MVC project and developing solutions, applications in MVC, then there are a lot of videos. I've pasted all those links in my description channel in this video. You can definitely go through and understand that. So basically, when it comes to Razor pages, you'll see that if you are creating a single page application and your focused coding is on the single page, instead of like in a typically MVC pattern where we have controller, we have views and model. So you don't have those things in Razor pages. So in a Razor page, for any module, we'll have only two files, a single page having CS HTML file, which is your Razor page code where your Razor syntax resides, and then we'll have CS HTML.cs where your server-side code is. So if you are more focused and your requirement is not of an MVC pattern, then definitely you should look for a Razor page development. Your code is compressed into a single file. We will see that in the practical session, and then we also do like to touch base on the routing. So basically, routing is the URL, the servicing of the URL typed in by the user. So in typical MVC, if you see the structure of MVC, which is in the right hand side, you have the controller model view. For any request for an MVC project, the request comes to your action method, which is there in the controller class. From there, it will go to the model, fetch the data, and then render the appropriate or the required view to the users. So that routing is not there in Razor Pages project structure. We have a single folder called pages. You look at the left hand side of the structure, you will have a single folder called pages. Inside the pages, you will create a Razor page which will have a single file, will have your server side as well as Razor page syntax. So when the URL, when the user is typing the URL like http localhost/pages, and then they call the page that you want to service to the customer or to the user. So this is a big change over here. That is the reason I thought I'll highlight you. So this is how the routing works in Razor Pages. Then we are going to use Entity Framework Core, and we are going to use Entity Framework Core to connect to a database, and also do we are going to use migration, which will actually create tables and columns basis the model class that we are creating. So we are going to use some migration commands, and we don't have to explicitly go and open the database and create a table and add columns. All that can be done through our project using the migration command. So this is the migration which I was talking about. So you have an application, you have a data model, you have a DB context, which is a connection string to your database. So whenever you create a data model and then you want to create a table in the database, you are going to use the migration command, like we have add migrations and update database and remove migration. So for a simple understanding is that migration basically will create the physical files, folders, sorry, not the files, physical tables in your database, and it will create that sync up between your model class and the database class. So that is how we are using that entity first approach or model first approach using these migrations. So we'll see this practically in our practical section. Then we have this dependency injection. This is something that I like to my viewers to understand the concept. It's a very powerful concept. Dependency injection is used in and out in .NET projects, and it is one of the principles of Solid. So I have pasted this link in the description section. Please do go and watch and clear your concept on dependency injection. And this brings end to our theoretical session. Now I will walk you through the actual project. This is the roadmap. Basically, we are going to create a Razor project. We are going to first create a book title module, and then we are going to show you how to create a relationship for the title category, and then we'll, if time permits, we'll definitely deploy the solution in our local IIS. So let's get started. So I will show you the completed project. So this is a completed project that you will be developing along with me. So this is the logo which we'll add, then this is the title of the project, and then we have all books book category. So when you click on all books, you'll be able to see a nice professional looking UI where you are able to see the records added in the database. We have title, author name, category, release date, and rating. These is a like customized, like I downloaded some icons and placed it over here, and so that it looks professional, and this provides the option to edit, view, and delete. Now you will be able to sort this once you click on the errors. You can see it's getting sorted, and date base and rating base. Then you'll be able to search the record, like So this is like a, it is actually searching based on the title and the author name. And then if you don't write anything, search and just click on filter, all the records are shown. You will be able to view it. So I'm able to view it, and then you'll be able to edit this record, and you'll be able to delete this record. Then here I'll just create one title just to show you. This is a title, finance, and this is Chris, author name. Then this is a date. There's all validation added. Date cannot be future. Rating has to be between 1 to 5. So I'll show you all these things while we are creating it. And then we create it. So we have created that, and then most importantly we are using paging. So we can see, so this is a book that we just added in our database. So bank upgrade is got added. So this is a paging which we are using. Then we have the book category where we can add more book category. If you see some category is added. Now if you go to all books and you try to create one category, you will be able to see some category added over here. So this is what we are going to actually develop it. So let's now go ahead and let's close all these things, and let's go ahead. So we will open our database. So database is already open. So this is my database, where I'm going to create a table. So let's go ahead and add a database first. So you don't have, we will just create a database. Tables and everything will be created through migration command. It's demo live world. So our database is created, demo library view world, and let's go ahead and open Visual Studio 2022, click on create new project, select ASP.NET Core Web App, click on next, enter the project name. It's getting saved in D hands-on project. Click on next, select .NET 6.0, untick configure for HTTPS as of now, and click on create. So project is loaded, and this is a default setup over here. So you are able to see the program.cs file. Now this program.cs file is a startup file. It's in .NET 6.0 version. We initially had startup.cs and program. Now Microsoft has clubbed that into a single program.cs file. So here we have all the configuration, setting related, initialization of, and support related, like we are having this add razor page support, and then routing and authorization and everything. Here we are going to add the we are going to use dependency injection and create the connection string over here. We in the later section will see that. Then we have app setting.json. This is a configuration file where we are going to add the connection string. It's not only used only for connection string, but any configuration, any key you would like to store it over here that you like to retrieve runtime can be saved over here. For example, in our Pagination module, we'll be adding the page size value over here so that we can retrieve it during runtime and accordingly display that number of rows in that particular page. Then, as I mentioned, this is a pages in Razor. So we are going to create folder and add pages in this directory. In this pages folder, we have shared. Now shared is having a folder where we have the layout.cshtml. This is actually the master page, the menu and everything that I'll show to you. Then www root folder where we have all the CSS, JS and library files, and some of the dependency which will be used in the project. So yes, let's go ahead and just run this project. Now when you run the project, the default page that will be loaded will be your index, which will be I'll show to you. So this is the default project page. Now this is the index page, the welcome.ch, which you can see, and this is the header and this is the footer. This is the master layout file, which is this one, available under pages shared folder layout. So if you see, this is the project title. So this is the home page demo library world. So we are going to change that. So, bookstore. So we save that, and then we will be changing this demo lib world. So demo lib world change to bookstore. So we notice that the changes are not appearing because in .NET 6.0 Microsoft has removed that capability of runtime to view the runtime changes. In order to add that capability, we need to add certain one package, which I'll show you right away. So while we are adding that runtime package, let's go ahead also add the required packages for this project. So first I wanted to show. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the runtime package first. Runtime compilation, and click on Microsoft ASP.NET Core MVC Razor runtime compilation and click on install. Click on OK, accept. So the green tick is there, that means it's got added. Let's also go and add the required packages for this project. So we need the following packages. First is core, just type core and search. So we need entity framework core. Click on install. I accept. Green tick, it's installed. Then we need SQL Server because we are going to work with SQL Server database. Click on Microsoft Entity Framework SQL Server. Click on install. Then we are going to use tools, Microsoft Entity Framework Core.tools. This is required for migration commands. Install, and then we're going to use design. So this is for creating the entire module using the scaffolding command. So we don't have to do all this work manually, and it saves a lot of time, which I'll show it to you. So entity framework core.design. Click on this. I have not installed it, so let me install it. Okay, I accept. So following runtime, this is for viewing the runtime changes. Then we have the entity framework core, then design. I'll show you, this is for the component design, this is for SQL Server, and then this is for the entity framework tools for migration command. So these are the packages required. Let's go ahead and add that capability of runtime changes to view the runtime. Click on the program. Just below builder services.add razor page command, add this line of code, builder.services.add razor pages add razor page runtime compilation. So now let's go ahead and make some changes and see whether that's getting reflected during runtime. Yeah, so this is the page that got loaded. Okay, so now you are able to see the changes which I did is reflecting because I had to close the project and then run. But now we can do it like, let's go ahead and make this bold and see whether it's the changes gets reflected. So click on the layout under the pages folder, then the bookstore, I just add a bold tag. I click on save button and I refresh it. You can see the changes now is getting reflected after I added the runtime. Also, let's go and click on index and change this to bookstore, and I can add a slogan as the search for books ends here. So this is h1, and then we enter p tag. Sorry, it's not a p tag, it's break, and then we add h3 to make it look bolder. So now we will just refresh and we should be able to see. So we are able to make the changes. Also, we notice that the footer is come up. So let's push this down. So let's go. Since this is a footer, we have to make the changes, and we have to make these changes also. So we'll try and make this project look very professional. So let's go to layout again and go to the footer section. So here I am going to say bookstore, and let's go ahead and in the bookstore let's add a bottom position fixed and width is 100%, and background, let's add a background color as orange, and text alignment left. So this is the CS we applied to the footer section, and let's refresh it. You see the footer section is now gone below. Okay, let's also do one thing. Let's add a logo in our next to a bookstore. So what I've done is that let's go ahead to the root folder and add a new folder called img image, and I have actually downloaded one logo. So this is the logo which I'll go ahead and right click and paste it in this folder. So this is a lib logo. So basically I've added that logo in our folder. I'll go to the layout again and just next to bookstore, and top of that I'm going to add the image tag. So I say image src slash logo. So, and then we are going to say width is 80 pixel and height is pixel. So we have added the logo, and just we rebuild it once. Succeeded and run the project. So yes, we have got the logo now. We have got the bookstore title over there. We have changed the page title, and now everything is set. From a container perspective, our project now is set up. We have also went and changed this footer color, and we have brought it down. So now let's go ahead and start the project work. So first thing we are going to do is that we are going to add the database connection string before we run the migration command. So let's go ahead and add the connection string in a database. So go to app setting, enter as connection string, name this string as default or anything which you like, default connection, and then we say server this is my instance of the server. Yours can be different. Database name is the one which I gave, that is this one, demo libworld. Trusted connection is through. So when you say trusted connection is through, means that is it is going to use your Windows login. You can also provide trusted connection false, and then you will have to provide the user ID and password. So I'll just show it to you. So when I'm connecting to my SQL Server instance, when I do connection, either I can use Windows connection or I can use SQL Server. In this demo, I'm using the Windows. So when you click on connect, it gets connected. So that is what is going to happen over here. And then we are going to say multiple active results sets equals to true. So multiple active result sets is a feature only for MS SQL Server database that allows the execution of multiple batches using the single database connection. For example, for any operation, we want to keep connecting to the database. For example, in our case, when we fetch all the title record, we also need to fetch the title category. So for that, it will not use a separate connection, it will use the same connection string. So this is for that. So that is why we are setting this as true. So I hope you understood. So this is a connection string which I have used. So once this is done, the next action which we are going to use is creating a DB context class. So right click on that and create a folder called data layer. So this is our data layer class. Okay, and this is a data layer class, and then also create a folder for model class, our entity class. So this is our entity, that is a model class. So creating. So let's go ahead and first actually create a model, and then we'll create a data layer. So what is the first model which we are going to add? So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a basic title master without the category. So I wanted to explain how the relationships will be created, so it will make sense. So what I'll do is that without the category class category, so I'm going to create a title class which will not have category at this moment. Then later on we'll create a title category, book category basically, and then try to link it create a relationship, and then show you how the drop downs and everything are created. So first thing is right click on the entity folder which we created, click on the class and add a class called book entity. So here we are going to use system dot component or model dot data annotation, and then we are going to define the properties. The first is key, and then the key is the primary key. So basically we are going to say book ID is your primary key. Then we are going to say prop tab string, the data type to string tab, and then say title. So I just copy this because we can just save the time. So this becomes your author name. Then we have prop tab change. This becomes your date time, and then we have this release date, when was the title release, and finally we have the ratings. So this is the property that we have defined in our entity class called book entity. So let's go ahead now and add the DB context class. So right click on the data layer, click on class and name this as book DB contest, and then using Microsoft.entity framework core, and then we are going to use our entity classes also. Now this book DB contest will actually implement inherited DB contest, and then we are going to create a constructor, like we are going to do a dependency injection. So just right click on this DB contest and then you click on the symbol, select the option generate constructor book DB contest, click on this. So this is a contest class which is a constructor class with an option which will be injecting options that will be used for creating a database connection. So we are going to inject this in our program.class file. So as of now we leave this as it is, and then we create the table name. So basically we say public db set, we pass in our book entity model class, and then we say book collections, and this is get and set. So what will happen that the moment we run the migration class, it will create a table called book collection which will have all the columns defined in the entity class, like these ones. So let's do the final action, like let's go to our program.cs file and add a dependency injection over here. So we are going to use Microsoft.entity framework core, and then demo lib world dot entity class. This reference is required. Now we go and just after the Razor compilation support which we added, click on builder, enter builder dot services dot add DB contest, pass the book DB. So I need to add even the data reference, data layer, and pass this class book DB contest class over here, book db contest class. Okay, and then bracket options lambda extension, click on enter. Okay, and then say options dot use SQL server, then call the connection string from the app.json file, builder dot configuration dot get connection string, and the name of the connection string, that is default connection. And then you close this bracket. So this is the purpose of this code is that it calls this class, which is our main database connection class, and this is like a dependency. This is a dependency injection where actually we are injecting the connection string and actually we are opening the database connection so that all the CRUD operation can be done. So this is, we have done it. Now the important step is, so we have created the entity class, which is this one. This is our columns. Then we have created a db contest class. We have injected the connection string over here in the options method, and then now we have also defined a database table name like the book collection, and then now we are going to run the migration command. In order to run the migration command, click on tools, click on package manager console. So here is a package manager console open. Now the command that will actually, our first command, this is our first database command that we are shooting through the migration class. So that is add migration, and this is our initial database creation. So this is the first database command which we are executing, and this will execute and create a table called book collection as defined in the book db contest class. So click on enter. The build is started and build succeeded. So if you notice, it is created a folder called migration. Inside the folder, this is the name initial database connection class, which contains the command create table with the columns, book ID, title, author, and everything. It defines the primary key basis that we defined in the entity class, and then it also creates a class called the book db contest models f not. So this created all the versions and everything which is required. So whenever you are using migration command, it will keep adding a class file in under this migration folder. Now if you notice, the command has got executed. However, when you go to your database and you try to see whether the table is created, you see there is no table created. Why? Because now we have created those classes. So it's as good as we have created the queries and everything, but we have not executed it. So in order to execute it, we have to shoot one more command called the update database. This will actually execute the code in the backend and create. So this is created successfully. We have created our first migration command, which is this one. Now if you notice and you just try to go to the database and click on tables, it's not refresh. Okay, let me refresh it. If you go to tables, demo lib, yes, so just refresh the table. Now you see the book collection table is created with the columns that we defined in the entity class: book ID, title, author name, release date. It also created EF migration history. So basically this will contain all the migration history, all the command history that we have gone ahead and issued from our project. So this is the first command, initial database connection, which got executed and stored over here. So I hope this is clear why we created this migration and everything. Now let's go ahead and now add our module. So let's go ahead and right click on the pages folder, add a new folder called books. Now inside the books we are going to generate all the required CS HTML pages for viewing the data, listing out all the books, creating new books, updating, deleting and everything. So for that we are going to use scaffolding. So just right click on the book, say add new scaffold item. Don't select MVC, select Razor pages using entity framework crude. Click on add. Which model class it should be? Book entity. This is a class, and this is our book DB contest class which we created it. Got it? And click on add. So now it will install the necessary packages. Packages we have already installed. So it will go ahead and create the HTML and CS HTML.cs files. So the entire module will be created using scaffolding, and then we'll customize it to make it look more professional, and we are going to customize it and modify it so that we can add that sorting, paging and all this option. But your primary code is ready using this command. So now let us go ahead and see the magic. Without we doing anything, we will go ahead and run this project and see that entire module is created. So if you expand the books folder, you'll see index, which is the page file which will list all the books. We have create, we have delete, details and edit. So what we are going to do, first thing we are going to run this project, then I'll show you how to use the routing. How do I call that index page? And let's go ahead and create, and let us see the powerful feature added so that we don't have to do much of the coding manually. So we saved half a day or an entire day of work by this scaffolding command. Let's go ahead and witness this wonderful feature. So this is a page. Now I have not added our links over here, so which I'll do it. But in order to navigate to the books index page, slash pages slash, you don't have to write pages, sorry, just say books slash index. See, the page is loaded. So you don't have to mention pages because by default all the routing happens in that main folder pages, and then you have to mention books because you created, and then index because this is the index file. Now see, there's no record added, but we'll go ahead and click on create. So what it has done, it has created an index page. It has created an index create command which will actually call this page, and let us see. So click on create. So it is created the form, title, author name, release date and rating. So we are going to customize this. So let's first add a record. So this is a title. This is the author. This is the date. Now if you notice, when I say customization, you can see in this calendar we are able to see even the time and seconds and everything. So we don't want all this, and plus we need to add the validation. So these are things we'll have to do it. So we select the date, and we select the rating and click on create. So you notice the record is got created without we doing anything. Obviously there are a lot of customization, and then we have this edit option. So we click on details, so we can see the details. Plus we can see the label name is not properly defined, because this is a label, this is a property name we define an entity, but we do have a feature to change this. Then we have a navigation, we can edit it. So I can go ahead and edit it, and so let's not change the author name, let's change the rating, and we click on save. So it got saved. So edit is working, details is working, and when you click on delete, it is prompting whether you want to delete, and when you click on delete, it will delete it. So you notice, let me add it again. You notice all this CRUD functionality is already taken care by .NET by using the scaffolding feature. However, we'll do a lot of modification. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to change this title. So let's go ahead. How do we do that? And you need to add the validations also, because if you run the project and see, it has no validation. Okay, let me also go ahead and add that navigation over here. So we go to pages, and then we go to shared, we click on layout, and now we go ahead, and this section, you can see the section here we have home. So we don't want home, what we want is all books. Okay, and then we change this navigation to books/index. We save this, and then we refresh it, and we click on this. Now it will navigate to our index page. So we have added a navigation, and before we get into the changing of attributes and everything, I'll just like to show you the code. Let me explain the, obviously I'll be, while I'm editing and updating this, you'll be able to learn it, but I thought I'll just show it to you once. So you go to your books folder, let's go to the index. So what has happened over here? Let's go to the code base. So here you see it is created following code. First thing, it is referenced the our DB book DB contest variable. Then it is in the, this is a constructor, this is a page constructor, index model. If you see, is a page index model, and in this constructor it is injected the DB book DB contest class, and it is initialized this underscore contest class. Then it is created a list object passing the book entity, because this will be showing you a list of books, and it is defined a variable called book entity. Now we have a method called on get async. Okay, so it's an async call on get. So we in Razor Pages we have on get and on post method. So how we have in controller we have iAction method, index method, something that's sort like that we have, and in controller we have the get method, post, delete, put, and everything. So here we have on get method, and this validates whether the collection is not empty, and then what it does, it calls our underscore contest book collection, that is our table name, and to list async. So this passes that object. So once it receives it in the index.cshtml, this is the index.cshtml, this is the create page. So you see that create, and it passes asp.page create, which will actually call this, and then here it is defined the headers, the name of the fields, title, author name, release date, rating, and then it's doing a for each loop, and it is fetching all the records. And then we have this 3 links which will actually pass. When you click on that link, it will actually call the respective pages like details, edit, delete, details and delete. Then ASP route ID is the ID. So because you are going to delete, update or edit a single record, so it has to pass the ID. So it is passing the book ID, which is the primary key, to the respective pages. So this is the Razor code for displaying the record. I'll show you create, and then we'll start with the optimization and changes to the existing model. So in the create, you see the same structure. Now, as I told you, in create you will see the on post method. You click on the create CS.html CS file, you see the same book DB context referenced. It will see the constructor, and then you get on get, which is basically a method which will return you the page for adding new record. And then we have this bind property, because we need to bind the record. So from your list page, from your index page, when you click on any record, it needs to fetch that records using the book ID passed to create page, fetch those IDs and then bind those into the controllers. So that is why the bind property is defined over here. Then, as I mentioned, on post. So what happens on post is that it checks the model validity, and then it actually calls the contest book collection table name, add, and it passes the book entity, which is this one. Because when you write all those values and submit, that values gets bind over the year, and then it is passed to the entity framework, to this table, and then you say save changes, and then you redirect back to our index page. So similarly, we have the same code for edit. If you see, the same code will be for edit and delete. In your create CS.html, you have this controllers defined, where you have a form method post, and where you are label and a text box, and then the validation control, and where we have all the input fields required, and then we have submit button, which will actually call the create value, submit it, and then redirect, add that record and redirect to index page. So I suggest that you go through this code as I explained, so that you have a better understanding. Now let's go ahead and add validation first. First we'll go ahead and change the labels, because we need to have 2 things defined over here. First, we need to have a proper name, a user-friendly name, and second, we need to add those validations. Please enter title name, please enter author name, please select date. Date should not be greater than current date, and all these things. So how do we do that? So let's go ahead and do that. So click on all books, and so here we are going to change the title. Let's go and create. Without entering anything, I'm just clicking on this. So I'm getting the validations. Why I'm getting this validation? Because in your create page, it's already added this validation over here. But if you see, title is required, author name field is required, the release date field is required, rating field is required, but it is not showing a proper customized message, and plus it is showing the author name title as the same over here. So let's customize this. In order to customize this fields, you need to go to your entity folder, you need to go to your book entity class. Okay, so now here let's click on title. Just above the title, you need to add this required error message. What message you need to write? Please enter title name. It's required. Okay. So this is one custom message. Now you want that the title name should be valid, so there's a validation that it should be maximum 50 characters and minimum 3 characters. How do you do that? Again, you say string length bracket 50 is your maximum character, and then minimum length is 3, and if this validation does not meet, then you need to put the error message. Error message equals to title name is too short. Okay, and please enter valid title name. Okay, so this was for title. Same way you can do for your author. Just copy it. About author places, please enter author name. You can have the same validation for author 2. Okay, and then author name is too short. Please enter valid author name. Now in case of date, you have a challenge over here. The first is you need to make sure that your calendar does not show the time. So how do you restrict that? Simple. Just enter data type and then data type dot date. You just want date in the calendar. Second, you need to also validate that the release date cannot be current date or greater than current date. It cannot be future date. How do you restrict that? So in order to restrict that, we are going to use something called validation attribute. So this is something new that I like to just highlight and explain. You can do that. So just here only in the same class, in the book entity class, create one class called public class data validation, and which will inherit validation attribute. Okay, what does it? You can write the code over here, and it says date time today date convert dot to value. So whatever date is passed, we are actually converting that to value. Okay. So we define a class called date validation, and this will inherit date validation attribute. Now we create a method. So public override is valid and option. Yeah. So we are going to override the method available in this validation attribute. So what we are going to do, we are going to say date time today date. First thing is we are going to convert to date time value, and we are going to take the value. So whatever value is getting passed over here, we will first actually get the date, and then we are going to just return today date else and equals to date time dot now. So we have added this validation. Sorry. So this is a single line of code. Now what is that? Next step is that we are going to actually go ahead and use this over here. So we say date validation and error message. If the validation fails, so we have an error message which says title release date should be current or should be less than current date. So this is a validation in the validation phase. So you can add such custom validation using this method in your property class. And then finally we have the rating. So yes, so first thing is we require rating. So this we can copy any of the tag and just paste it above rating. Please enter title rating between 1 to 5. So this is a message, but we need to validate. If anybody is typing any value which is not between this range, then there's a problem. How do you validate that? So simple, we just add range. So we say range 1 and 5, and if somebody doesn't enter that, error message, please enter the rating between 1 to 5 only. So these are the validations which we have added. Please have a closer look on this setup, because you might require to add such validation in your real projects also. And I've just added some space so that it looks neat. So this is the validation which we have added in our entity class. Now let's go ahead and let's test this validations. We actually have not done one more thing. We have not changed the display name. So let's do that also once we load it and check it. So let's click on books and click on create. Now if I don't write anything and just click on create, you see, please enter title is required. Now if I enter something like short name, so you see title name is too short, please enter valid name. Now here if you click on calendar, you see that time and seconds is gone. Now it is only showing the date. Now if I select a future date, the release date field now, and I select something called 77, so it will show please enter rating between 1 to 7. Okay, so I don't know why this field is not getting fired. Let me just check. Date validation. Let's debug this. Okay, let's add this date validation. So this is 5th August which I selected. Yes, so we got the validation of it. Title release date should be less than current date. Okay, it should be current, less than current date. This time it should work. it's one. Okay, now let's go ahead and change this title name. So for that we have to again go to our entity class. Here we need to use something called, so this is title, we say display name. Bracket name. We say title. This will remain as title, but for author we say author name with a space. Author name. For release date we say release date with a space. The rating is similar. So if you go back and now you check, now if you click on all books, you'll be able to see title, author name with a space, release date and rating. Even if you go to details, you'll see the same labels. Same labels. So this is how we can go ahead and change it. One last thing before we proceed to book category section and sorting and paging, let's also make some changes over here with respect to UI. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to replace this. Like if you go to pages, certain changes I make in the books index page, first on the index, I just remove this link and add the image. So I have actually downloaded this details, edit and delete from a site called Flat Icon. You can also so there is a website called Flat Icons. Click on this and then you will see all the free icons you can download over here. There's a lot. You just search for any icon like delete or something like that. It just downloads it. It's free, so you can use colorful or as a gray layout icons. So I've used this and I've downloaded it so already over here. So I'll just go ahead and replace. What first thing is you need to copy this and paste it in your image folder. Then we need to come over here in your index page. We are already there, and instead of edit, you just, instead of this page showing over here, what you need to do is remove this edit and add an image source, image as source. This is edit, right? So we just select edit png and we give the width in pixels, 22 pixels, and height 22 pixels, and close the bracket. So what we have done is that we have removed the text and we have added the image. Same for details and same for delete. Only thing, we are going to make this as details and make this as delete. This is one change we'll do. Also we will change the navigation pattern. you click on create, let's watch this. Click on all books. You see, now we are able to see the icons, which will still work without any issue because we have just changed it and back. So we can just click on this and click on delete, and it gets deleted, edit, and back on this. So let's do one more thing. Let's go ahead and also change. If you click on the create page, you come to this page where we can see submit. You can see it's a submit. So and then we have a link which says back to the list. So what we can do is that we can place this button instead of this back to the list. So what we can do is we can add one more line of code over here. Just copy this, paste it over here, remove this from here, and just say ASP page index, it says slash dot slash, and then we add class, we say button, and ptn. This is the CSS that is getting applied, space mx. This is a space between two buttons, that's a space, and we say back. Also we add a BR tag just above this groove form so that we have enough space. So I just made this change so that it's consistently button everywhere. Let us go and check the create form, and then we apply the same changes in the edit and delete and all these things, and then we go ahead and create the title category module, and then we see how we create relationship between these two modules. Click on all, and then we click on create. You see now it looks good. We have a create and back button. So let's do the same changes in the remaining pages. So what we do, we just copy this, we click on delete, and this is a button already, and then we remove this and we add the button back. Similarly in details, we put this in the edit, we have this button, we remove this, and we add a BR tag. Forgot to add BR tag over here, so we add a BR tag here too, and then we already had it and the back. So everywhere we have removed that link, and so that it looks consistent. So in the create we have created this, and in the details screen we are having a back button, and then in the view we are having a back button, and one minute, in the view we also have this edit button, edit and back, and then we have this delete and we have a back button. Okay, so in the edit, if you go to edit, we have input tab. Where is this edit? Details. Okay, so this is a route book ID. You just copy this paste it over here. We call it primary. Edit. Click on all books, and finally we check the entire UI. So we have icons over here, we click on create, we have buttons over here, then we click on edit, we have back, then we have click on details. So it was a link, now it's become a button. We click on edit and same thing back, and then delete, we have a button. So we have a consistent flow now, consistent UI, and we have modified this and added icons and changed the link to the button. And we have also completed the module of book title categories. So addition of title categories is completed, but there are a lot of things. Now here we need to add, for any title which we are adding, we need to have a drop down called as a title category. So first thing, we need to create one more module called a title category, that is book category, and then we need to come back in the same module and add the capability of adding a drop down. So which we are going to do is our next step is to create a new module and create a relationship. So let's go ahead and do that. So guys, let's go ahead and create the title category. So in order to create a title category, first we'll add an entity. We'll add a class called book category. Using system.component model.data annotation. Define the primary key, which will be prop book category ID, and string book category name. Let's add the display right away. So this will be display name as category. So this is our entity class which is defined. Let's go to our book DB context and add this table as well, because this will be a new table in our database. So public DB set, and this will be book category. So this is a table name, book categories. So this becomes a table. Let's go ahead and execute the command. So now we say add migration, and we say added book category table. Enter. Okay, so now in the migration you see added book categories class is added, which will actually create the table. This one, it's already added the table book categories. So now let's go ahead and update database. Now it's done. Now if you go to the database, first thing, just right click on the tables and refresh. In your migration you will see, as I mentioned earlier, with a migration you will be able to see the second row, book category, and then you can see the book category table is also added with the required fields. Now let's go ahead and go to the pages folder, right click, add new folder called book category, and right click, add new scaffolding activity, razor pages using entity framework crude. Click on add. This time your model will be book category. DB context class will be the same. Click on add. So whatever customization which we did for books module, we will not do that in the book category. You can take it as an homework and you can change that icons and everything. And our book category module is ready. You can see all these modules are added. Let's go ahead and add some records. Before that, let's go ahead and clear the exist. Okay, there is one. Nice. Okay, book category and then book category. Okay, so here we have named the folder name as also book category, and our entity class is also book category. So it is actually confused with the namespace. Okay, so what I can do is demo lib world entity dot book category. So make sure that you have a different name set over there. So what I have done is that I have created the same classes everywhere, like the book category entity class as well as the pages folder also create a book category. If I want to really avoid this sort of thing, what I can do is that I just delete this entire folder instead of making the code change. And I know my entity class is book category, its name is book category, and I also have the table name as book categories. What I do is that I create a new folder and I name it as category. In under the pages, right click, and now I say add new scaffolding item, select razor page crude. This will be book category class and this will remain the same. So this time I think so there should be no error. So now I navigate to book category. So I click on category / index. You're able to see the list with no objects. Let's go ahead and create one category saying self-help books. Create, then action. These are the categories which we are adding. So I added this couple of categories. So you see all the features will be there. So this will remain the same. We are not going to customize this menus. You can take it as an homework and do it. So we have added this category. So now what we need to do is that we need to, in our books category, so let's add the navigation also before we get into that adding the relationship. So we click on shared layout, and then we come to our section. We just copy this link, paste it below this, and this will be category index categories. Category. So we just refresh it. Book category. So this is a book category, and this is all the books. Now what we need to do is that whatever category we have added over here, we need to provide a drop down and add it in our existing book category table. So now since we have created this class book category, and we have also ready with this, let's go ahead and add the relationship in the books titles category. So go to your entity class, go to your book entity. Here in this we need to create the relationship. So here in the class we need to first add a reference of schema. Okay, since we are adding a relationship, and now we need to define the relationship. So first thing is that we were going to display add public. It's a book category ID. Okay, and we add the display name as category, and now this is a addition of foreign key. So basically now we are going to say foreign key, and we are going to refer this book category ID, and then we say public virtual book category. This is an entity, and we say book category. Let's have a different name over here. Book category optional, and say book categories. So what we have done is that we have in our book entities, books entity, we have added the book category ID as a key, because in the table we need to create a book category ID which will act as a foreign key, and then we are adding a virtual method which will hold the entire table values. Basically this variable book categories will hold the book category ID as well as a book category name. Okay, so we have defined this, but if you go and see the database table, in the design mode it is still not added. So now we will again run the migration command, and we will make sure that the relationship is built in the database. So let's go ahead to our package console, and now we say add migration, and add foreign key in books collection table add. So what it's going to do is that it will create the class here in the migration folder, which is done. If you go to this migration folder, it's created one more class, add foreign key reference, and here the script is written to add the foreign key ID, that is book category ID, in the books table. Now let's go ahead and update that in the database. Update database. Now if you go to the table database and just refresh, you see the design, book collection design, you see the book category is added as a foreign key. If you click on the relationship table, you see it's already added a relationship in the from the book category table in the book collection table. So this is done from the database end. Now we need to make the necessary code change so that we will be able to display that in our books collection entity. So let's go ahead, go to the pages. Now first we'll go ahead and click on the books, and then we go to index, and we go to the CS file, that is a code file, and here we make the changes. So here what change we are going to do is that we are going to first go to on get sync. Now what this code does is it fetch all the books collection, but while it is fetching, it will be not able to fetch the category. So even though we have created the entity, we have provisioned the column where we have to explicitly write a small piece of code which will actually object in book entity. So whatever data is fetched in this activity, whatever data which is there, we are going to do a for loop, and we are going to provide this object with the book category name. So we have book categories, and we say, since it's a async method, we say await underscore contest dot book category dot first or default async x. We use a lambda expression x dot book category ID equals to object dot book category ID. That's it. So contest is, as I explained earlier, this is a database connection string which we have initiated in the constructor. So we are calling this book category table, and we are actually comparing the book category ID and fetching the entire book category ID as well as name in this object, book categories object, which we have defined it in the book entity class. Got it? So we define this book entity class in the book categories in the entity. So for once we fetch all the record, we do a loop and provide the category name to this entire book collection. So this was from the backend, like this is a code level change. Now we need to make the same changes in the index. So we go to the index. First thing we need to do is that after the author name, we copy author, okay, and then just paste this, and we change this to book category, book categories dot book category name. This is just a warning. It's like it should declare it as nullable, otherwise it will show it will not run up into any exception. So this is one thing. And second thing we need to do is that we need to also, that was an error, and here we need to add book category dot book category name. Okay, so now let's keep a breakpoint over here and I'll show it to you. Click on all books and we run into this breakpoint. Now click click on F10. So what will do? This code will actually fetch all the record. Now if you put a breakpoint and click on view, if you see the record set, the list object record set, it will have all the records except for, right now there is no record of this, except for this column, book categories, it will be empty. So right now we don't have any record, so we'll have to actually make some changes in the create object first, because there is no record over here. So we'll have to go ahead and add a record. Now in order to add a record, if you click on create, there is no option to select the book category, so we need to add a option over here. So how to do that? Let's go to create, let's go to create code file and make the changes over here. So what are we going to do is that we need to create an object that will hold all the book categories. So let's say public list object, and we pass select list item, and we say get book categories get and set. So this will actually wait. This is a list, select list items. This is a variable which will hold all the book categories values. Now go to on get method, and here before returning the page for data entry, you need to write a small piece of code which says get book categories equals to underscore contest, get the book category table, and select, use lambda expression, new select list item, curly bracket open and close, and here we say text equals to I dot book category name, comma, and value is I dot book category ID. Okay, and this will be a to list, because this variable is a to list. So this is actually fetch it. Now this will fetch the get book categories, but we need to provision to select it. So click on the create.html file just after the author. Okay, you need to copy the author, paste it below it, same tag, but here we need to make some changes. So our label will be book entity dot book category ID. Okay, so this will not be a label controller. Label we already defined over here. Now here this is not an input button, we want a drop down. So what we need to do, select asp.for book entity dot book category ID, and asp.items, we say model dot get book categories. This is a variable name, and then we say class equals to form control. Right, so this becomes a select. Within the select you need to give an option selected, and we say select category or select book category. That's it. So this is a drop down. Now from the CS we are actually filling in the categories from the table, and then in the HTML we have provisioned to pre-populate using the ASP-items object, which is this variable. So let's go ahead now and let's try to create one book with this title selection. Yes, there is no exception. That's great. So we click on all books. Okay, so here I just run through because there is no records. We click on create. Now here you can see now categories added, and you can see all the categories are displayed. Let's go and add one category, self-help, and this is the release date, rating is 3, create. Now it's redirected to index page. Now you can see there will be one record. You can see this, there is one record. Now in this record you see there is no book categories, even though we have a book category ID because this is added in a table. In order to fetch this, we run this loop, and for this ID which is there in the loop 1, we get the book category. So now if you watch this entity class again, book entity with the records, you will see this object is already there now. Now within this object there is a name of this category. So if you see, the self category is displayed over here now. So we'll have to make the same changes in other forms also, like in the edit also there is no, and then there is. So let's go ahead and do that. How do we do this? It's very simple. You need to copy the same code which you created in the. So you need to copy the same code, that is this one, which is your. You need to go to create, and then you copy the same code over here. You go to details. Okay, so let's make the changes in the details page. So here what happens is that it is fetching the details based on an ID. Now this is a code where it fetches the book details. What we are going to do is that we are going to say book entity dot book categories and await underscore contest dot book categories dot first default sync. It's the same code which we wrote in, and this is book category ID equals to book entity dot book category ID. That's it. In the details section we need to just add this code, and then we need to go to the details CS HTML page, and just below the author. So now we have in details we have author. So we need to copy this entire stuff, that is a label as well as author, paste it, and then change this to book category ID, and then just change this to book categories dot book category name. This is a change in the details page. In the details we don't need to call the list of categories, because we just are showing you a category name or for one particular title. All books, and then we click on details. You can see details now has a category. Now in the edit when the user wants to make some changes, we need to write the same code that we wrote in the this one, create page. So we copy this list, we go to edit, we copy this edit. Now we write the same code, we copy get sync, we copy this code, and we come to edit, and then in the edit get sync, we copy this code which pre-populates the data, and then once the details are fetched, you need to write the same code as we did for our details page, and copy this, we go to edit page and copy this after fetching this information. Now in the edit, we come to the edit. First you go to create and copy this drop down code from come to edit, and after author we paste it, because this code will remain the same. Let's close all the form. Click on all books. Okay, now click on edit. So now when you click on edit, you see the drop down and you can make the change. It's got changed. Then we click on details, we can see the detail category back. And when you click on delete, now you're not able to see because you're not added. So delete first shows the record similar to details. So you can copy this code of label and drop down name in delete. Come over here after author name, paste it, then copy the details page. Yeah, this line of code. Just you need to copy this, come to delete, and right after pulling the books category details, book details, you write this piece of code. Copy this piece of code. So this will fetch the details. So we click on delete. Now we can see the category and we can go ahead and delete it. So let's create one more. Because in me, rhyme, self-help book and rating 3. Create. We create one more. We select category as finance, rating as 5. 2 records added. We are able to see drop down and we are able to see the correct values displayed. For this will show finance. See, finance is getting displayed, and even details as a proper category shown, and even delete shows the category now. So we have shown you how to add the reference. We have explained how did we create the relationship, how did we update the entity class, and then how did we add a drop down, okay, in a simple method. So now our module is complete. There are 2 functionality that we need to add in all books category. One is the sorting and second one is the paging, and we complete the entire project. So let's go ahead and add code for sorting first. So in order to do the sorting, first thing we need to do is declare the variables in the sorting variables in our class. So we go to our books folder, in the index backend code, we declare the variables for which we need to do the sorting. So we are going to add sorting for all the columns. So let's go ahead and first declare the variables. Public title sort. So this is our title sort variable. Then we are going to add author, then book category ID, then release date and rating and date sort. So we're going to change this name to author sort, and then book category sort, and then release date sort, then rating sort, and finally we have a common date sort. You might not use this, but let me just check. So this is a variable. Now once we declare the variable, what happens is that we need to go to our index eraser code, and in the header section because we need to provision a link, a sort of hyperlink. When you click on the column, it sorts. So basically in the header section, what we need to do is that change this line of code. So this will be, we just need to change this and say dot page. So this calls the index and then asp.route dot is dot sort. ASP route and then here's a sort order equals to model, and we refer the title, the one which it is added over there, and inside this reference, I should have not deleted, just copy this. Inside this A reference, we say title. So now what we have done is that we have added this reference. So we get a hyperlink. So we need to add this for all the columns where you need the sorting. This will be author sort. This is book category sort. This will be date sort, and then finally this will be our rating sort. So once we define this, let's go to the code base and add a parameter in our on get sync which fetches a record as string sort order. The next thing we need to do is that write a piece of code, title sort, and check what is the sort order, and if the sort order is title underscore ascending underscore sort question mark, then we assign title sort as, we assign the sort order as title underscore descending underscore sort. Otherwise it is, if it is sort, define this. So basically we are checking whether the sort order, we are actually basically assigning the sort order. See, basically sorting will happen only in one column. So what is happening over here is that basis the sort order, which is when the moment you click on the column, okay, it assigns a value, okay, and then it calls the on get method, and then it checks which column the user clicked, and basis the value selected. Like if you have clicked on ascending, if you click on ascending, that means it will sort based on descending. If you click on descending, it will sort based on ascending. So that is what conditional item is displayed over here, okay, to this sort order. And then further in the code we will see if sort order is titles ascending, then it will sort based on ascending. If the sort order is value is descending, it is sort based on descending. So we need to replicate the same for all the other columns. Okay, so this becomes our author sort, and then we have the same thing over here. We just change this to author sort, author ascending, and then we have book category sort, book category sort, and then we copy this. So this becomes a book category and rating sort, and then we change this to rating. We have a common date sort, and date, date. So this is our first determining what users have clicked and assigning that value. Further, what we are going to do is that we will be using condition statement over here, sorry, switch statement, and we pass the value assigned in the above code, and we say case, and if it is title sort ascending, semicolon, we are going to say book entity dot order by s lambda s dot title to list. And this bit breaks. Similarly, we write the case statement for title descending. Similarly, we write this for author. Okay, but here you need to change the author name. Here also you need to change the author name, and this will be order by descending. This will be order by descending. And before we complete the code, let's run this code. We need to add a default switch also. Colon, and what will be our default switch? Book entity equals to book entity dot order by, say, let's do it title wise. By default it is sorted on title wise, and then we have break. So this becomes a switch statement. Right now I've just added for title and author. Okay, title and author, and let's go ahead and run the code and check how it's working. So I'll put a breakpoint and execute the project. click on all books, and now there won't be any sorting, so because we have not clicked anything, so there it will not enter the. So now you can see the hyperlinks are defined. Now let's click on author. So when you click on author, it will assign as sort ascending. So your sort order is now ascending, and if you come to your sort order, it is author sort ascending. So it will come inside author and sort ascending, and it will order in an ascending manner. Already ordered in C is already ordered. So now you click on again author. This time this will assign this as descending. C sort order as descending. I click over here, it will come to descending, and then it will sort according to descending order. So now you can see. Similarly, title. I'll just remove all the breakpoint now. So title, you can see it is similarly it is getting sorted. Now these three you can do same level of coding over there. Let's go ahead and add the search capability in our code. So what are we going to do is that we are going to just place a text box in our index page, which will actually do searching based on title as well as author. You can add book category also, but I'll show you based on title and author. In order to do that, let's go to index html.cs file and declare a variable as filters. Just about this variable, let's say public string current filter. Okay, so this is a public variable declared, and then we go to on get record, which is the method to fetch the record, and we say string search string. Okay, so this is two things we need to add. I don't think so I'll require this current filter. This is for the session state. What was the current filter, previous filter done? Search string will be required because this will have the parameter. Now let's write the code over here. Okay, so this fetches all the record. Now just below this, what you need to do, just above this, you say if string dot is null int search string. Then if it is not empty, then say book entity equals to await contest dot book collection and dot where we use lambda function title dot contains search string and or do the same search for dot contains search string. You can add multiple columns over here, like you can go ahead and add for categories also. So we say as dot book categories dot book category name contains search string. It's a multi-column search feature that we are added. Okay, and then we close the bracket and then to list. Got it. So we fetch the search. Otherwise, then we enter this line of code. We just copy this and we paste it over here. So this was the backend level code. In the front end, let's go and add the HTML code. So right above create the button, we just enter, we put a BR tag, and then we add a form controller, form ASP.controller, we say index, and we say action method is ASP action is index, and method is get. Okay, and then we say search title author category colon, and then we say add an input button, input text, input type is text, name is search string, the one we passed in the parameter. We close this, and then we have input type submit, and value this writes completes the code for search. Let's go ahead and run this, and once we finish this, we are finished with the sorting and then searching. The final part of the project is pagination, the most important part of the project. Okay, so we click on all books. Okay, so this will fetch all the records now, as of now, because we have not entered any search characters. So now let's go ahead and type digital and click on filter. So if you see, the value has come as digital. Now string is not empty, so it will go inside and it will execute this lambda function and use the where condition, and most importantly use the contents, because we are not matching it exactly, and it will check for all the three columns and it will fetch you the record. So even if you had mentioned dig, it could still found because we have used contents. Got it? See, eg, so you'll find the book ego one. Ego is in it. So if you don't enter anything, I'll just remove the breakpoint. If you don't enter anything and click, it will fetch all the records. So now we have done with the search functionality also, we have done with the sorting also. Now it's time for us to implement the last leg of the project, that is the pagination. Now in order to do the pagination, we need to take care of couple of things. Okay, so first is that we need to create a common class that can be used for all the modules. So today we have books, we have categories, tomorrow we'll have customers, then we'll have rate master and everything. So we can't keep writing the code in all the modules, so it will create a duplicate records, and to manage the duplicate records for maintenance will be difficult. So the thing is that we'll be going to create a generic class which will actually take the input as a class as an input, and then it will fetch the selected records in the pages index or the calling method for fetching selected record basis the page size. Now in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is that create a class, right? As I mentioned, to create a class. Now in order to do that, let's go ahead and first add that class in our project. So right click and select class. This is a class called Pagination. and this is list, pagination list. So we have added this class. Now this class pagination list is it takes input of a generic class. So let's go ahead first before we, and then it implements list, which also takes a generic class. The point is that any class you pass, whether it's book, category, customers, anything which you pass, it will paginate and display the record accordingly. So use a entity Microsoft entity framework core, and this will be required. So a small piece of code we need to be written over here. So first is public int page index, which index is clicked. So suppose if you have 20 records, so and you have per record 5 per page 5 records to be displayed, then you will have 4 indexes. Okay, each index will have 5 records. So that is that index. So when you click on the second index, first index will be 1, second index it will be 2, 3, something like that. So that is the page index. And then we need to have the total pages. How many pages are there? Total 4 pages are there. This is an example. Okay, then what we are going to do is we are going to create a constructor which will take input of list, public pagination list, it is okay, no, it's fine. List, a generic list is items, then int count, then int page index, int page size. Okay, so this is a constructor which takes item, which records, count, index. Now page index equals to page index, and then total pages equals to here. What we are going to do is that use math dot ceiling count divided by double page size. And this dot add range and items. I'll explain this code. So this is a constructor which determines the total page, current page index selected, and the total pages derived basis the items, that is the record passed. Now after that it also has some boolean variable which determines whether we have previous record or not. And it also has next component, so as next page. So if it is less than total pages, then it has no records. So these are the two methods to identify whether you have reached the last record or whether you are in the first record. So that way that this is defined over here. Second is, now we write the actual code which uses a method called take, skip and take. So we say public static async task pagination variable and create takes I variable. Whenever you see T is a generic class, list item passed to this method page index int page size. Okay, so this our method is ready. Now we need to add the code. So var count equals to await source dot count async. This fetches the count. Then var items equals to await source dot skip page index minus 1 multiply by page size. Page size. And then once you skip and then you take, just a second, page index minus 1 and the page size. Dot take page size async. So this gets a count and then items await scope source dot skip bracket was missing, so sorry. So it's bracket, then inside the bracket we say page index and page size and then take the page size. So basically I'll explain this code to you. Suppose your index is 0, so 0 minus 1 is 0 multiplied with the page size 5. So now it says that skip this, skip 5. So basically anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So it says skip 0 and take 5. So when you are passing the record set for the first time and you say if you have 10 records, then it will say skip 0 and take 5. So it will take the first 5 record. Second time when you loop in and when you click on the second page index 2, that means your page index will be 1. Okay, so again it will fetch the next page size in the record. So we will debug it and then show how this works. Then we say return new pagination and we call our main method. So you need to call this method. This method will do this calculation of fetching the record basis the take, skip and take, and then it will actually call the main constructor and return you the record set. So this is the class which actually will be implemented in our pages. So we come to our books index and now we make the change over here. So first thing we need to do is that instead of now passing an iList object, we say pagination list. So we are passing now this pagination, we are passing this book entity to our pagination list object. Now obviously we'll have to make some changes over here. Okay, so now the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to declare iQueryable, and we are going to pass book entity. We are going to call it book IQ equals to from sn contest dot book collection select s. So this fetches all the record. We are using an iQueryable object because we are going to do we are actually going to query it, and most important, we are going to pass this iQueryable object in our pagination class. If you remember, in a pagination class we are actually using iQueryable to use this functionality of skip and take for paging doing the entire pagination. So this we do it over here. Now since we are using this method, we need to change this. So we say books IQ, everything remains the same over here, and we remove this, it's not required. And we say since now we have used this object, we have all the record, we can directly refer this books where, and we pass it. And similarly we don't require this else now, because what will happen is that if there is value in the string, then this will be called, else this is already initiated with all the records, correct? So this is where we will do this. Now here also I think so, just copy this and paste it above, and here we are going to use books, not book entity, and it should work as it is. So we are going to fill this, and now we come over here. Okay, here we are getting the error because we are using now the books. So we are using books IQ, and we say books IQ order by, and we don't need to say list. So this is a correction we'll have to make it. So we've done that. Finally, now we need to call the pagination method which we created, and this. So we need to say the page size. So we define the page size. So right now I just define it as 5. Okay, and then we say book entity equals to we call the class pages list, and we pass in the book entity to because we are passing a generic, and then we are calling create async method. Here we are passing the books, here we are passing books IQ page index, okay, and question mark 1. This is page index, and then this is page size, which is I've kept it as 5. I copy this variable. I forgot to mention we need to define a page index. So argument 2 cannot convert from int to int. What is the declaration we have done over here? Int. Page index. So we need to have a condition over here 1. Okay, so now this method will actually return. So before we run this code, let's go to the index page and also add the necessary code. Okay, so here let's go ahead and add a variable to check whether there is records. Previous disabled. Entity.as previous question mark disabled colon. So this is one level of, so we are declaring a variable which checks whether we have a previous record. If we don't have a previous record, it will disable. Similarly, we have the next record, so it's next disabled. Next disabled, and then instead of previous it says as next page. Okay, otherwise it disables. So this is one variable which we will use it, and then we create a br tag, and then we create ASP page custom f1 index ASP dot route dot page index model dot book entity dot page index -1, and then class btn primary and disable. This name will be previous. So this is a button which is known as a previous, and basically this is checking the index selected, and this is a plus, and this will be the next. So this is a button which is also managing the enabling and disabling of the buttons basis if the record exists. So this is an HTML code, and we have already written the backend code. Let's go ahead and execute it. Guys, this has become a very lengthy video, but we require to, because we are creating the entire functionality. And generally if you see other YouTube videos, you will only see somebody coming in and showing you the scaffolding and this, but this is the entire project. Now whatever you saw over here can be applied in your real world projects. So that is why it's like creating the entire project. So obviously it will take some time. Okay, so while this project is getting, okay, so it's already loaded. So let's click on all books. Okay, so let's go ahead right now. So we can see, so I just did not change the name. It's of the previous and the next button. I'll click on index and next disable. Next. Okay, so what I've done, I've defined the page size as 5. So let's do it for 2. Only 2 records per page. Okay, let's guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and like my video. There are a lot of efforts that my teams put in for creating these projects and everything. It will be great if you subscribe and also share and grow my channel so that I can reach more software engineers and provide them the necessary knowledge so that software engineering and development can be easy. So we click on all books. Now we have 2 records. So what we do is that we create one more record, and let's call it as the 10x rule. Cardon. So guys, if you notice, the next button is enabled. Previous is disabled because this is the first page. Now click on next. You can see the next record. I can create one more. and I create one more so that I can have three pages, 2 records per page. So guys, I have created 3 records per page, 2 records. Now you can see next, you can see next, and you can see next is now disabled because this is the last record. I click on previous. So now I'll go ahead and explain the pagination class. Now see, if you see the pagination, now what will happen that this class is generic. As I told you, the T over here is generic, and if you notice the code, we are passing the entity to book entity in this generic class. Tomorrow if you want to add pagination in book categories, so you have to just call the same method and pass the book category entity, because this is a common method. The first thing which we did is that we created the pagination list. Now what is the significance of this pagination class is that it has simple method. It's basically a class which uses a generic method which takes in generic class. It has a page index and total pages, because it needs to know which page index is clicked, and it needs to know the total pages. For example, in our case we added 6 record, and per page record is 2, that is 3 pages, and per page we have 2 records. So here this is a constructor which takes in the, so basically when we call this method, we pass in the source, that is a list object, iQueryable object. Then we pass the page which is by default I set to 1, and then the page size I have set to 2. So once it gets the input parameter, it first takes a count, then it uses the skip and the take method. So it will skip and then take the records which will show and debug over here for better explanation, and then it calls the construction method which finally returns the record. But I'll just focus on this code and put a breakpoint. Now this is the first record. Now when I click on next, how does the code look? So basically we say page index as 2. 2 minus 1 is basically 1, and 1 multiplied by page size is 2. Correct? So skip the 2 records and take the next 2. So that is what that implies. So it skipped the first 2 records and it has taken the next 2 record in the set. Now we proceed to the next button. Now when you click, now page index will be 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. So skip the first 4 record and take the next 2 records. I hope you understood this concept. And this is a common class, so you can use it in your real world projects. And this finishes our paging also. So overall this finishes the entire work. Now I explained you the pagination class, but let me also go ahead and explain you what I did in the index razor page. So if you go to the index, I explained there are 2 variables I have defined, which actually checks whether there is a previous record, so that it can disable the previous button, and it also checks whether we have the next record, so that if we don't have it, disable the next button. Then we added 2 buttons over here which we called as previous and the next. Now in this we are obviously redirecting to index page. The moment you click, we have an ASP route filter where we pass in the index clicked, because it records the index clicked, and when you say previous, it definitely subtracts it, because it checks the it has to fetch accordingly, manage the index. And when you click next, it adds that index to the value to the index, so that it can proceed to the next page. So this is the 2 page, and this button is enabled disabled basis the value we set over here. All this variable, page index and everything, is actually being shared or fetched from this class object only. Now let's do one thing. Let's also show in our page the total number of current page and the total pages, so it becomes easy for user to understand it. So for that, what we are going to do, very simple, we are going to say, we add a bold tag and say page, and we add space NBSP, this is a space, and then we say @model dot book entity dot page index. Okay, so this fetches the current page index, and then NBSP bold @model dot book entity dot total pages. So let's run this. This all variables is set from the pagination class only. So let's go ahead and save this and refresh it. Let's click on all books again. So you can see page 1 and 3. So I think I missed off. So this is off. And let's NBS space over here. Space. Okay, so page 1 of 3. Then next, so page 2 of 3 and page 3 of 3. So guys, I hope it was a lengthy video which I had to draft for you guys, and I hope you understood the Razor page, the entire project structure. So in this Razor page, after going through this video, you should be able to work on any real world Razor page project, because everything was included. I explained you how to use scaffolding, I explained you how to customize it. I also explained you the sorting and paging and the search functionality. It's a complete project, and I hope you liked it. Thank you for your time and patience, and please do like all my videos. Please do subscribe and share it with your friends and tech buddies, so that I can increase my reach to my developers, and it is giving back to the community. So I could like that whatever we did through hard way, it's easily presented so that developers can learn and do a good job, and also do freelancing and earn. So thank you very much for your time.